So welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video, and I've always been a really big Batman fan, and initially when I got into comic book investing in the CGC comics, one of my ideas was to buy the low print run of Batman comics from the 80s. And the low print in Batman, it goes from Batman 357 to Batman 401, I believe. Could be just Batman 400, 401, not too sure exactly. But a lot of key issues within that run. And yeah, so one of my original ideas getting into CGC investing, because I have sort of a nostalgic connection to those issues. You know, I was born in 1985. You know, Batman 357 up to Batman 366, I would say, with that Joker cover. And I've already done a video on that. Those comics were a lot of comics I saw when I was a kid and I lusted after. They were pretty hard to find. And yeah, Batman comics in general I felt were just harder to find for me when I was younger for some reason. But yeah, one of my original ideas was to invest in the low print run of Batman in the 80s in the CGC 9.8 white pages. So I ended up purchasing last year a Batman 358, and in the 9.8 there are only 20 of these on the CGC Census, so that is pretty cool in and of itself to have, you know, a collection item that's one of 20. So I think, you know, Batman 358, the Killer Croc, his first appearance is somewhat debated. You know, 357 has become the sort of issue to have over time. That's become kind of the key issue. First Jason Todd, first Killer Croc. But essentially that Killer Croc appearance in 357 is basically a cameo. And it's somewhat debated, you know, within, I guess, the Batman comic book collection community that, you know, Batman 357 isn't even the first Killer Croc appearance. And then, you know, you have people arguing that you can go back to Detective, I think it's 523. And then sort of next in line is this issue, Batman 358, which, you know, in the Overstreet Price Guide, it's not really, you know, highlighted as a key issue or anything. But for, I think, several reasons, it's becoming a key issue as time goes on a little bit more. Sort of because, as I was talking, you know, Killer Croc's first appearance is somewhat debated. So in a sense, this could be sort of the first full appearance of Killer Croc, in a sense. It is the first Killer Croc cover. That is him on the cover, even though you can't see his face, he's in a trench coat. So I think for those reasons, combined with the fact that there are only 20 of these in the world, I think that, you know, this could be a really sought after issue, you know, maybe in the next 5 or 10 years. And I sort of see prices reflecting that. I've, you know, had a look online. I think there's one on eBay listed right now. And yeah, I believe they're trying to get $500 US for it. So yeah, that's getting into like $650, $700 Canadian. And yeah, I think what happens with some of these, I noticed it in X-Men too as well, from sort of the same era, maybe even a little bit earlier, but some of these issues that are non-key issues, but they're very rare in the 9.8s, are sort of being priced as key issues basically in the 9.8 white pages, especially if they're really rare. So this is definitely a candidate for that to happen, and I think any Batman comics during this run that you could find that are sort of rare in the 9.8s, I think would be worth a buy. And from this low run Batman in the 1980s, Batman 358 is the best comic if you're thinking about, you know, a rare 9.8. Yeah, as I said, only 20 of these on the CGC Census. I checked yesterday, so this is one of 20. And, you know, you got to think one or two of those are probably not even white pages, so this one's probably like a 1 of 15 in the, you know, CGC 9.8 white pages. So how much did I pay for this issue? I bought this last year, and it was I think it was almost 350 Canadian. I did buy it from sort of a certified dealer, I would say, so I had to pay taxes on that. Yeah, so 350, 400, I would say, after all taxes in. Yeah, so that's kind of putting it in, a sort of 280, 290 range, which is where I think a lot of sort of investment grade comics start, I would say. In that sort of 250 to 300 range, you got Amazing Spider-Man 298, Amazing Spider-Man 316, yeah, a couple of, Amazing Spider-Man 252, I guess you could say, too. Even, Batman 366, which I have 2 of. That, there's Buy It Now sort of in that range of about 300 US, maybe a little bit more expensive, but yeah, so this book, although it's not a key, it's sort of getting those key type prices, especially in the 9.8, and yeah, I'd only expect that to continue, and I think that trend will continue because it's so rare in the 9.8. And yeah, you know what, this whole low run Batman range of the 80s, obviously I told you that was kind of one of my original ideas that I wanted to invest in. Number one, because I just love the issues so much, I have a nostalgic connection to them, but number two, because they are in low run, low print, you don't see too many 9.8s. And I wanted to make a whole video on this range of Batman, and I think what is it, 386 I believe it is, with the first Black Mask. I think that's, if you could find a really good 9.8 in that, I think that's a really good one to grab. Batman 366 is not as rare in the 9.8 white pages, but I think that's a really good one to grab too. I think that's kind of a key issue that hasn't, I would say, taken off crazy yet, but I think it kind of ticks all those boxes for like Joker cover, very nostalgic, very classic, iconic cover, and it's also a key issue as well. Not as rare in the 9.8, whereas this one, not a key issue, but rare in the 9.8, although you can make arguments that it is a key issue with, a lot of people thinking that this is almost the first full appearance of Killer Croc, basically. So, yeah, lots of reasons to buy this book. I think being in that low print run of Batman, that's still kind of an underappreciated investment area, I think. Being that the Marvel comics of this generation were so widely printed, and by the 80s they were just printing a bunch of these comic books, which is another kind of the fundamental reasons why I say if you're buying 80s or 90s comics, only buy 9.8s. Obviously, if your budget doesn't permit, you buy the rough copies in the best condition you can, and that's great. But if you got the money and you want to invest, you always want to buy the 9.8s from this generation. It's way better to sort of buy one 9.8 than say like 2 9.4s and a 9.6 or something. Just on the way out, when you sell these you want to sell them to collectors that are just going to lust after them and pay top dollar for them, and you're probably only going to get that in 9.8s. So, Batman 358, there's only 20 of them. I think if, as a serious investment, because looking at the prices, they are sort of asking serious prices for them. And, I think the one online right now, as I said, is 500 US. And yeah, honestly, I in a sense, I do kind of want another one. There's only 20 of them, so I don't know, I just feel like having, 2 or 3 of these, that's like 10% of all of them. So, like, that just kind of seems like a cool idea to me. And being that it's not a key issue in the Overstreet, it's sort of an underappreciated, underfollowed thing where, you wouldn't really think that you'd want this unless you did some research and looked on the Census and saw that it was so rare in the 9.8. So, yeah, these 1980 Batman comics, really good spot to invest in. I think Batman, it's such an iconic character. And yeah, like if this Joker movie wasn't coming out, they're starting to a little bit of hype building, I would say, for Batman. which I think could inflate some of the prices. So it's not, yeah, generally I wouldn't say it's the best time to buy Batman comics. Most of my buys were last year in Batman, so I think last year was probably the time to buy. This year, with the Joker movie coming out, I would, I'd probably, you could probably still pick away and, find some auctions that are, maybe a week-long auction that you can maybe grab a deal. But as far as like buy it nows in the Batmans, I think, because what happens is once these movies come out, all the collectors look at what they have, and if they have something that they think they could sell for almost double that they bought as a buy it now, they'll probably put it up and try to sell it. So yeah, I think we're kind of getting into that kind of environment for Batman comics with the Joker movie. But if you can find a deal during this, anywhere from Batman 357 up to 400, especially even in these in these off issues where the 9.8s are even more rare, and yeah, Batman 358 is a perfect example of that. I think, yeah, definitely a good investment, I think. So Batman 358, I think, is a good investment for a lot of different reasons. You're getting the first full appearance of Killer Croc debated. There's only 20 of them in the world, so if you find another one, I'm even this one being in the older case. The one that's online right now is in the newer case, and it's a 9.8 white pages. And yeah, as I said, though, asking about 500 American, which seems really expensive to me, but I'm almost tempted to buy it, to be honest. Just because, yeah, if there's only 20 of them, and so the Killer Croc appearance is dated, so I feel like it's becoming sort of the first Killer Croc in a way. And it is the first Killer Croc cover, which is great too. But glad I could show you this comic book. I've got a lot more comics from my collection I want to show you guys, so if you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel. More videos coming along, same type of videos. Did some movie reviews as well, so probably be getting in some movie reviews. Maybe even some modern sort of story elements of new comics coming out I might get into. But if you like the video, if you're interested in comic book investing, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.